Hello, everybody, and welcome to what will probably be the very last episode of Planet Quest. Yes, I know it's very sad, but there's a reason. 1.2 is coming out, which completely ruins a lot of my mods that I've been using for this series. And one mod in particular is being made completely obsolete through some of the new features in 1.2. So I recorded this about a week ago and have been playing with 1.2 since then and kind of forgot to do my voiceover, so this voiceover is about a week later. Anyway, we're looking at Duna, and I'm thinking about getting there and putting a satellite or some other probe on the surface. Uh, and I designed this beforehand, this satellite here. And this is real time speed. It is a very slow launch. This is a very, very heavy vehicle. And, well, anyway, I speed it up. This is, I think, four times time acceleration. And even with this speed up, it's really just kind of it's slow. It really is. Anyway, it does get up to speed. What I should do, and you'll find out why later, is start putting a an accidents or errors or mistakes or oopsies counter in the corner. I like that oopsies counter. Let's put that down. So that will be keeping track of all the oopsies. this this launch was this launch and mission was just plagued with all kinds of issues, many of which were self-inflicted. For example, right now, I turned a little bit late on my gravity turn, and I was carrying enough fuel, which made it so heavy, to be able to handle that. But it also meant that spending more time in the atmosphere, wasting fuel. I could have made a lighter vehicle, etc., etc. Now I cut off a little bit early. I'm still in the atmosphere, and this is going to cause a problem for me. So we'll just put down one in the little counter. Boom. Right? Oh, shoot. Now that I made a noise, I'm going to have to actually figure out where that was and put it in the right place. Anyway, uh, problem two is about to come up. So I'm doing my circularization burn, and I'm trying really hard to get onto um, that node. Uh, and this is still four times time acceleration, but look at that wobble. Could have probably fixed that. This vessel turns so slowly because I only have one unit that helps with turning. Anyway, coming up here, we I have the computer doing this for me, and I'm not doing it myself. And then, so it looks like it was going to hit the node. It was gearing down the engine, and all of a sudden, boom, back up to full again. And so I had to quickly figure out how to make this work. I was playing around with the computer. Nothing was working, so I separated and tried turning on this engine to. Or no, I didn't turn on this engine, but I. Look at that. It's so dangerous. Doing everything I could to save. Anyway, now I'm circularizing in a much, much higher orbit, which means that it's less fuel efficient. Um, and this burn takes forever, just absolute ages to complete. But I eventually get into a circularized orbit, or at least something like unto it. Then I, oh no, that was my Haman transfer burn. Never mind. Oops, sorry. I guess I stayed in an oblique orbit. At any rate, make the transfer and start mixing fuel around because my transfer wasn't as perfect or exact. Again, computer problems and human error problems. So, move all the fuel down to the lower stage so that I can have the best efficiency possible. Well, not the best efficiency, but I can use as much fuel as possible. If I were to separate instead of moving the fuel around, then I would have lost some Delta V that I absolutely needed for this mission. Anyway, again, another issue, I didn't have any communications with my satellite array, and it's because I forgot to point a satellite at this one. So it's completely out of communications range. Whatever the computer decides to do, if it decides to mess up again, I'm stuck with it. Luckily, we didn't have any problems. Everything went without a hitch. I go and I fix my satellite coverage, come back and get a nice rendezvous with Duna. And here I'm just really tweaking it, making it as perfect as I can because I want the computer to perform this burn for me. Again, it's quite nice when the computer actually works correctly. Uh, so I got that in. Computer performs the burn really nice, and I'm going into a polar orbit so that I can get as much coverage from the satellite arrays, the communication arrays around Kerbin as possible. This means that it's behind the planet as little as possible and getting clear communications. I am also dipping a bit into the atmosphere, I believe, and well, I certainly thought about doing it anyway. The idea here is that you can do what's called an aero capture, and the idea is that you hit the atmosphere slows you down ever so slightly and helps you get an orbit. It looks like, never mind, no, I wasn't doing an aero capture. This is why you don't record a week after doing, or do a voiceover a week after recording. You forget a lot of the details. Anyway, I play around with this maneuver a little bit, trying to get the best fuel economy for what I need. I'm really down on fuel, and I need this to be the best I possibly can. I can possibly get it. Anyway, we pass by Duna, and under the South Pole, perform our burn at the closest point so that we can make the greatest use of the Oberth effect. And I think I leave it in this orbit. I don't think oh no, I do circularize up above. I could have left it in this orbit and it would have been just fine. The problem here though would be that it would have lower coverage over the closer point to the surface. Where it's closer, it gets less coverage, essentially. And it travels faster, so you get the coverage for less time, etc. Anyway, I start doing some science experiments that I can't do after I land. The science can only be done while in orbit once, because we're not going back into orbit. So I come down, or no, I circularize, and then I separate. Yes, I believe. There we go. We have our communications between the two parts so they can talk to each other. And I do that to make sure that there's no problems. Could you imagine? That would be so annoying. Anyway, then I start performing the separations, and this is the part that stays in orbit. This is the part that goes to land. And so I set up all of my endeavors here. Yeah, I believe I do a talkover on this. No, just kidding. It's here in a bit, so I'll let myself talk here in just a little bit when we get to that point. All right, I have only one attempt to make this work. I have a few drogue parachutes and some main chutes, and they need to come out at exactly the right time. If I have them deploy too late, I'll crash. If I have them deploy too early, they'll rip apart. I think an altitude of 2,000 meters would be perfect. So 2 kilometers above the surface would be a great time for them to come out. That way I'm not going, or the probe isn't going too fast. Yeah, these need to come out a lot sooner than that, maybe 4,000 meters. Come on, 4,000. And 4,000. So what I'm setting is not very, not very precise. So these parachutes, when they come out, are going to come out half deployed, and then at the number that I set is when they're going to be at full deployment. If they come out too early at half deployment, then it's all over. So my time to periapsis, when I'm going to be in the atmosphere, is 55 minutes from now. So I'm just going to set that as my time delay is at 55 minutes. Set that and have that be when the main chutes deploy. So deploy chute and deploy chute. Then I'm going to come to 53 minutes, I think is a good time, and have that be when the drogue chutes deploy. And before I hit the atmosphere, in fact quite a bit of time before I hit the atmosphere, let's say in 40 minutes, I'm going to have this commutron deactivate. Yeah, hold on. I need to have it be able to activate later on. I'm still in range. No, I'm not. Oh, shoot. I don't have like some sort of binding on that, so once it deactivates, it's deactivated until I'm able to reactivate this. That's that's very inconvenient. I forgot to place a binding on that. Oh well, I'll figure out the rest of these. I'm not going to have you listen to me think through all this. I'm not going to lie, old me kind of bores me to tears, but yeah, I had to figure this out. And so I do. This is me figuring it out. I'm doing a bunch of other complicated things about timing and things coming off at the right time. But ultimately, get it figured out, and oh, it just comes off so perfectly. Sort of. And isn't that just the story of my life? Anyway, back to old me to narrate what I'm doing in a very bad voice. Okay, I have deactivated my main commutron, my main satellite dish, and I have it ready to activate when it comes close to when it lands. So everything is set. I am really hopeful that this works out because I only have one go at this. There are no second chances here. So I'm going to pull the trigger and cross my fingers and deactivate this reflectron so that I'm not using up that battery power when these solar panels go down. I'm hopeful that I have enough juice that will be able to perform the landing and then be able to open up these solar panels. I don't know if I said it before, but I'll say it again. I certainly have a renewed appreciation for the folks at NASA. Anyway, this is the ship hitting the atmosphere. It's doing well. Everything is going the way it's supposed to. And then the parachutes come out a little bit early. And I get all scared. But everything's fine. It all works out. Anyway, there is a little bit of a freak out about when it lands. And so we'll go back to old me for that. So I was a little bit confused why my electric charge wasn't going down. And then I remembered I was really smart and I put these extra photovoltaic panels on the sides. So even if these were broken, I would still have some electric charge. That was a lot of incredible foresight. I'm very proud of that. Anyway, this landing is going very smoothly. I was afraid that it wouldn't. I'm falling at 9 meters per second. I think I'm going to lose this science bay. Yep. I lost that science, but I did not lose the probe. And that's the important thing. So it's just waiting to activate this dish on the side. Uh-oh. Did the dish break? I don't see it anywhere. I think it broke. Oh no. I might not be able to do anything with this. Well, here come the solar panels. On cue. But yeah, I don't see the dish. I think it's gone. Yep, there it is. Anybody who has a really high definition display, the second to last line, Communitron DTS M1 crashed into terrain. So it's a goner. This probe is a goner. Oh man. Oh, I'm so miffed. Well, miffage aside, I take a moment to look at my wreckage and just lament, and lament some more. Anyway, this has been, I think, the last episode of this series. Um, yeah, go back to the satellite and it's time to turn it off and say goodbye to everything. Anyway, this has been Conan Horrors. I hope you guys have fun.